are at the wheel. The wheel, for those of you that may be joining us for the first time, is an idea that came to me on the drive home when I was asking the question, how do I give the message back to the community? And what came to me was ask them for what they want to hear about. And so that's what these questions are. And I spin this to contextualize today's talk. So I never know what it's going to be. Good morning, Ebony. Here we go. A question fresh in this morning. Will life continue? You might have a coin we can flip. So I'm going to take that into our time of prayer and meditation to see what creation has to say about that. So our theme for the whole year is first thing first. And we're finishing up, today we're finishing up Tradition 3. We're doing the 12 steps and 12 traditions. First 2 weeks we do the step. Second 2 weeks we do the tradition. So today we're doing the only requirement for membership. Last week we looked at it from the individualized perspective. Today we're going to look at it from a more broad perspective, from a group perspective, from an organization perspective, from a creation perspective, from a will life continue perspective. Right? When we understand, well, let me rephrase that. What I understand about creation is that it is already whole, perfect, and complete. That creation is, right? That it is expressing. And it is expressing based on its desire to experience itself as something new over and over and over and over and over. That no two elements, no two expressions of creation are the same. Now, if you think about that, from even just what we know, going back to the Big Bang, because something had to be existing before the Big Bang, because the Big Bang had to come out of something, right? So something was already here, no matter what we call it. In all of the thousands of millions of years, no two expressions have been the same. Now, if that doesn't boggle your little human brain, I want to talk to you. Because it just, it's like my brain cells just go, what? Right? Especially in a physical realm where we endeavor to make things identical. Right? The factory that made these chairs had a purpose to make every one of these chairs exactly the same, which is contrary to creation. Right? The homes that we live in have all of these really nice level 90-degree angles. Find me one of those in nature. They don't exist. Right? And so part of the problem that I experience, and maybe you do as well, is that living in this physical realm takes me out of the natural realm. Right? Because I'm busy trying to do everything the same way. Right? When I do the different stuff for Sunday service, I'm trying to make sure it all is the same format. I'm trying to make sure I change all the right dates. Right? This repetitive thing. I remember when I was doing my MBA, one of the professors said, it's not about doing everything perfectly. It's about doing things perfectly one time and then repeating them. Right? So think about that. You do it perfectly one time and then just repeat that one time over and over and over. What a boring existence. Right? It's like on some level we are disconnected from our authentic selves because we are creation being, which means we are creative beings here to create. And yet, we try to fit into a world that squashes all of our creativity by doing everything the same. It's an interesting conundrum. Okay? Will life continue? I think that depends on how we define life. Right? If you define life as this physical body drawing breath, no. No, it will not. Not indefinitely. Maybe you don't, but I know I have a shelf life. Everything I experience in the physical realm seems to have a shelf life. Right? And interestingly enough, it's how the planet nurtures itself. Right? Trees grow. They provide oxygen for us. And they absorb harmful gases to us. And then they fall down, and they rot, and they nurture the soil, and new things grow from them. It seems like it's supposed to happen that way, doesn't it? And perhaps that's exactly how life continues. Right? It's an interesting conversation that we have when we talk about climate change and all of the issues around humanity. And my experience of those conversations is they tend to be anchored in a really deep fear that we are somehow going to make humanity extinct. Now, I get our attachment, but I cannot with any certainty say we're not supposed to be extinct at some point. I really can't. Now, I know for some of us that's a really uncomfortable thought. Right? Because we are raised historically to think that we are the top of the food chain. That we, as humans, are the end-all, be-all. Which, interestingly enough, is the problem with the planet. Is because we have positioned ourselves to be superior to nature, that somewhere along the line we decided that we were actually divine dominion over nature and could use it however we please without any consideration for using it up or living in cooperation with it. And yet we worry about extinction when we are participating in making the thing that sustains us extinct. It's an interesting cycle of thought, right? So how does all this relate to the only requirement for membership is a desire? In the 12 steps, that continues to say a desire to stop using. For metaphysics, I invite you to flip it to an affirmative. That the only requirement for membership is a desire to express. If you read what Dr. Ernest Holmes wrote about addiction, about alcoholism, he relates it all to blocked desire to express. That the pain that people are trying to anesthetize with alcohol and drugs is the pain of not expressing what they're here to express. And if you think about it, that is a really painful place, right? We've all had something that was alive in us to express. And we've looked around and we didn't fit in. So we suppressed it. Did that feel good to anybody? No. It's a painful place. It's like that place when I do couples counseling, and somebody inevitably will use the phrase, well, if they really knew who I was, they wouldn't love me. Do you know why people think that? There's only one reason why you would ever think that. Because you know you've never shown up. See, you know they've never actually met you. So you have no certainty that they actually love you because they've never even met you. They've met the you you've made yourself out to be in order to belong in that relationship. You will never know that somebody loves you until you show up. They'll love this version, right? But they won't love you until they meet you. It's a requirement. In order to know you're loved, you have to show up. But we have to know that the only requirement for membership is to show up, is to express. Whether it's at this center, whether it's in a community outside of here, ultimately it's about creation. The only requirement for membership in creation is to express. You can't, in actuality, not be a member of creation. Newsflash, you're here, you're a member. You're on the planet, you're sucking air, you're a member of creation because you are an expression of creation. What does creation do? It expresses. What are you here to do? Guess. Express. See, there's not a different path for different expressions of creation. It's all one creation expressing. What are the trees doing right now? They're expressing. Thank you, pollen. But they are expressing the newness of life. Will life continue? Yes. Life itself is creation. It's all in how we are defining it. Will humanity continue? I don't know. Honestly don't know. And if I'm being completely transparent, I don't really care. I don't. I'm not that attached to this body. I'm just not. Why? Because I understand it's not me. It's a vehicle. Right? It's a vehicle. Am I enjoying my vehicle? Yes. Do I appreciate it? Yes. Could I take better care of it? Yes. I could take better care of the vehicle I drive. It hasn't had a bath since I moved here. That's a couple of years. I could do better. What are you here to express? Do you understand that your very existence is to express? On page, 270 of the Science of Mind book, Ernest Holmes says that the only thing that is important is not that we leave a legacy, that if we left the planet today, there is no necessity that there be any marker that we were even here. The only thing that matters, and then he puts it in all caps, is that while we live, we live. That's all that matters. You are an expression of infinite creation. The only thing that matters is that you, are you following me yet? Express. Is that you express. That's it. Now, really, you don't have to have a PhD to express. You don't even have to know how to read to express. You don't have to know how to sing to express. You don't have to be able-bodied to express. You don't. Doesn't matter what color we are, what size we are, who we love, who we don't love. Doesn't matter. Those are all conditions that, quite frankly, distract most of us from expressing our authenticity. We're so busy in somebody else's business about how they express, we're not expressing us because we're trying to control how they express. How's that working for you? For me, it doesn't work worth a flip. Right? But that's that human mentality where we separate, where we position ourselves in a place of control over. And then we start deciding who gets to be a member. Right? Then we start our list of qualifications to be a member. As if we actually have some divine authority to say who gets to be a part of creation and who doesn't. You can do that in an organization, but you cannot do that in creation. And here's the part that I really want you to get. Every element of creation that you are trying to squash is you. You cannot squash anything without first squashing you. See, to think that I can let you not belong and me belong is duality. If our teaching is true, if there's only one creation and we are all it expressing, every expression has to belong. Has to. It's not fair or reasonable to lay claim to my power of choice and then want to control yours. I want to choose, but now let's talk about how you're using that. Really? I know us in New Thought. We're pretty independent thinkers. I've never met anybody in New Thought that voluntarily surrendered their ability to think to someone else's control. Quite the opposite. And yet, sometimes we tip over into thinking that spiritual mind treatment is about changing how other people think. No. Spiritual mind treatment is about healing misaligned thoughts in mind. It doesn't say spiritual your mind treatment. Doesn't say spiritual my mind treatment. It says spiritual mind. We are doing treatment. We are healing errant thoughts of separation that operate in mind, in creation. Mind is just another word for creation. It is the substance. It is consciousness itself. And the whole trick with spiritual mind treatment is it is a movement of consciousness. We have to get beyond that it's a movement in consciousness, because it isn't in it, it's of it. That's what thought does. Thought moves consciousness into the activity of law, into form. There's no separation. It's all the same thing expressing. And so the only requirement for membership is a desire to express. Everybody already belongs. There's no way to not belong. And nobody needs to change to meet somebody else's standard. And you don't need to change to meet anybody else's standard, including your own. I got a stink face for that one. I love it. Most ministers have an amen corner. I have an oh crap corner. See, all of the limitations in your head are just that. When you are looking for what is yours to express, listen to your heart. Your head will lie to you. Your head only has what you have already expressed. It's a hard drive. It only has information that's already been programmed there. Your heart has the new desire. Listen to your heart. Know that you cannot fail. You can't. You cannot fail. Even if you say, no, I'm not going to express, it's not a failure because you were given free will. You can't fail. So you may as well have fun and experiment. I will close with this. Yes, people will judge you. Yes, if you dance in the grocery store when no music is there, people will look at you like, what's up with you? So what? It's not like they're coming home with you. What do you care what they think? And here's how we know other people are going to do that with us. Say again, Deborah.
We're doing it.
That's right, because we're doing it with you. Right? I know you're going to judge me because I judge you. Hello. That's just how it goes. So it's kind of like breathing. I think, therefore I judge. I will offer you this, and then I'm going to close. Many of you have heard me use this saying. It goes both ways. I ain't judging, I'm just saying. And some days I ain't saying, I'm just judging. And I offer that to you to lighten this stuff up. I ain't judging, I'm just saying. I ain't saying, I'm just judging. Own it. Because then you can choose something different. Let's take this into prayer. I recognize one infinite creation. One whole, perfect, and complete creation. Indra's net, adding gems, desiring to experience itself. All of creation in this physical realm is an individualized, one-of-a-kind, on purpose, never to be repeated desire in the heart of creation to experience itself as that individualized expression. And in the eternality of life, all that individualized expression experiences becomes part of the eternal whole. Ever-expanding creation. And so I claim and affirm that there is an opening in all of creation simply to express. That there is a freedom being claimed to express every desire of the heart with joy, with freedom, with authenticity. And knowing that the word spoken is the word fulfilled. I know that it's already done. And so I, the human I, can let go. I can let go of the lie of having to control anything. I can let go of all of the doubts that pop up that would impede the fulfillment of desire. I let it all go and claim and affirm the truth that it is done. And so it is.